You're listening to the Spark Your Light podcast, episode number 270, Signs Your Spark Needs to Be Relit. This episode is for you if you're feeling like maybe you're not sparked right now, and maybe you need to make some changes in your life, and you're not quite positive, or maybe you are positive, but you just want to hear the signs and confirm that it's time to make a change. If this is you, tune in. You are going to really resonate with these topics. I know that all of the times that my spark has needed to be relit, just coming back to these signs and this awareness has been the first step. So self-awareness is so important in making a change in your life. And that's why we're covering this content today. Thank you so much to SYL for sponsoring today's episode. So the first sign that your spark needs to be relit is you are masking the time that you would be spending on the things that used to spark your light with busyness. So if you find yourself being extremely overwhelmed, extremely busy, and you don't have time to work towards your goals, that can be a sign that your spark needs to be relit. Now, sometimes we're in a busy season. Sometimes we genuinely do not have time, space, capacity to work towards our goals. When I was in the hospital with Michael, the only thing I did was teach the class at Penn State that I teach. So if you didn't know, I teach an entrepreneurship class at Penn State at their local campus here outside Philly at one of their local campuses. And a lot of the class is virtual. And so I still did teach that class when I was in the hospital because I'm the teacher of the class. And so, if I'm not there, then there's no instructor. So I did do that. But other than that, I did not do any work. I didn't even open my laptop. I didn't have time, space, anything. Was my spark not lit? I just couldn't even think about my spark. So that wasn't the issue, right? I just had something else going on. But there have been other times in my life, recently actually, where I was so busy with other things. Like I couldn't get to my book because I had to, clean this or clean that, or, it was all these random house projects. And I realized that was actually just a cover to not have to address the underlying spark that needed to be relit. So it's important to really assess when you're busy. Is this genuinely just a random busy time in my life? Is there something that is absolutely utmost priority, urgent, and therefore I just can't even think about my spark? That's totally fine. Or is this truly something underneath the surface where you're busy and you're making yourself busy on purpose because you don't want to deal with the discomfort of relighting the spark, of figuring out why it went out and how to relight it, because that feels really hard. And the scary thing is all of this can be completely unconscious. So you may not even know that you're doing it. And it's really important to just slow down, take a step back, and ask yourself, am I masking my spark needing to be relit with busyness? So start there. That's step one. The second sign that your spark needs to be relit is when you are avoiding doing hard things that you used to do towards the goal. So if you used to take a certain action, let's just talk about fitness and exercise because that's an easy example for everyone to relate to. So if you used to go to the gym before work and all of a sudden you stopped doing that, that's a sign that your spark might need to be relit. Why did you stop doing that thing that's hard, right? When we don't have a spark, it's very difficult to get ourselves to do something that's challenging. But when we have a spark, that pushes us through the challenge. So when we find ourselves no longer doing things that used to spark us. So for me, I used to get up before Michael would wake up and I would work. And then recently I actually stopped doing that because I was tired. And I am tired. It's so mean that I'm putting that in quotes. But yes, I'm tired. And I know that that's a sign that my spark was not lit because I could go to bed earlier. Michael goes to bed by 8 o'clock, there's no reason that I couldn't go to bed earlier and be less tired, right? So for me, that was a sign that my spark had gone out. Okay, wow, that's interesting that I no longer have the motivation to do this thing that I used to do that was hard. So that is the second sign. The third sign that your spark needs to be relit is you do not have the ideas anymore. So when your spark is lit, you're filled with lots of ideas all the time related to the thing you're pursuing. So if you are committed to your health and that's the thing you're being sparked about, you probably had all these recipe ideas and all of these ideas for workouts you could do or classes you could go to. But if your spark has burned out, then all of a sudden the idea well dries up. You don't have all of the ideas about the recipes, about the workouts, about the classes, and instead you feel uninspired. And then you blame being uninspired as the problem. Being uninspired is not the problem. The problem is that your spark needs to be relit. And understanding why it went out in the first place is really, really key here. So if you notice that you used to have lots and lots and lots of ideas, and this especially applies to creative work, I know it's something that I've experienced, and then all of a sudden the ideas just start to dry up, that is a sign that the spark needs to be relit. And the fourth and final sign that your spark needs to be relit is one that I have experienced so many times, and it's sneaky. Sometimes we don't even realize that we are experiencing this, but it's something that I find we all sometimes go through. And it is distracting ourselves with other things that are related. And so instead of the first example where we were doing like housework or, something else completely unrelated to our goal, and we're so overwhelmed, this is actually sneakier because it's doing other things that are related, but not ultimately moving us closer to our goal. So this is when I drown. I just have so many emails to answer, and I just have all these other things to do in my business that I can't possibly find time to work on my book or work on my podcast or, whatever it is. And we almost make up things that we need to do, or we make these tasks take longer than they need to do because we're not sparked. Because if we were sparked, we would say, how can I answer my emails quickly so I can start prepping my podcast episodes? Or how can I answer my emails quickly so I can work on my book proposal, right? That's what happens when you're sparked. So it's really important to identify when those tasks that seem related but aren't actually pop up, because the key there is noticing them, recognizing how much time they're actually taking, how much time they genuinely need to take, and what's that gap. And that gap is your lack of spark. So if you notice any of these 4 signs, especially a combination of them, I would say if you have at least 2 of them, it's a sign that it's time to really reevaluate. Look at what caused the spark to go out and what might reignite it. The first step is just that awareness over the fact that it went out. And then from there, you can start to really get clear on what's next for you. Don't rush this process. Take time, just being, thinking, sitting, recognizing where you're at, but knowing that this isn't where you're going to stay. Knowing that you want to live a life where you're sparked, and this isn't it. And it's okay that you're here. And it's so great that you acknowledged it. That's the key. Acknowledging it is so important. So I'm proud of you for listening to this episode. I'm proud of you for admitting when your spark goes out. And for the record, everyone's spark goes out sometimes. Everyone, even when they're doing things that they love. So there's so many reasons that our spark can go out. I would say most of it has to do with limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, not feeling like you can achieve the things you want, or perfectionism can cause it. It can be caused by just a slight misalignment. Like sometimes you just need a slight tweak in what you're doing or what your focus is, or a refocus on your vision, something that motivates you. And that can make all the difference in the world. So just start being more aware of those things. And this episode might have been enough for you to start feeling more spark just simply from that awareness. Sometimes that's enough to kind of shift things. And other times we might need to dig a little deeper, and that's okay too. So either way, know that you are in the right place and your light will come back. Your light will come back. It's completely normal to lose your spark, but it's important to recognize it and choose to not stay there. And that's what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you for tuning in and being self-aware enough to know. And I know that with that self-awareness, you're going to be compelled to make some changes. So I'm so excited for you and what's to come next, because nothing feels better than being sparked. That's literally why I started this podcast. So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope it was helpful for you in getting some of that self-awareness. And I will catch you in the next episode.